Amalia is a design student who wants to learn Python because she heard some colleagues say it's important. She has 2 months before leaving for Erasmus, where this knowledge could be useful, and she can dedicate a maximum of 3 to 4 hours per day. She has no prior programming knowledge at all. Just like Amalia, when you want to learn something, you find yourself at the beginning of a journey, and in every journey before setting off. It's important to know where you want to go. However, that's easier said than done. In a learning journey, most of us don't yet fully understand the path, let alone the details of the destination. In this phase of uncertainty, sometimes the first thing we instinctively do is wander around. We ask friends, acquaintances, and freely explore websites, articles, guides, videos, blogs, books, any resource that catches our interest. Our attention is drawn to the topic. And you know what? We do this because we are human beings. The Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman, one of the most important cognitive psychologists, explains in his book, Thinking, Fast and Slow, why our mind works this way. Our brain operates using 2 main systems. System 1 is intuitive and fast thinking. It is automatic thinking, the first to come into action. It works effortlessly, quickly, and instinctively. It is what you use when, for example, you cross the street without thinking because you recognize a friend from a distance. You don't plan, you act. In the case of a new task, System 1 pushes you to explore freely, try without a precise plan, and gather initial impressions. System 2, on the other hand, is slow, analytical, and organized thinking. This system requires more energy and attention. You activate it when you need to plan, analyze a problem, or make complex decisions. It is useful, but it comes at a cost. It requires more mental effort. When facing a new task, System 1 is like an explorer. It moves quickly, gathers information, and helps you understand how the context works without immediately burdening you with the effort of organizing yourself. This is essential because it reduces cognitive load. Planning everything from the start would require too much effort and would hold you back, even before you begin. If you're learning something new, don't worry about understanding everything right away. Your initial goal is just to familiarize yourself, looking for answers to the questions that naturally arise. It's your System 1 in action. Let's see how Amalia is using her LLM at this stage. Amalia starts by asking general questions. She doesn't need to be precise. She begins by asking naive questions, if you will. But they have the fundamental value of authentically reflecting what comes to her mind. What is Python? What makes it special? Why is it so widely used? Can you point me to experts in this field? Videos, articles, or books that could help me? A little help. If you really can't think of any questions to ask, use a trick. After describing the situation to your LLM, you could ask it, what questions could I ask to start finding my way in relation to my learning goals? Keep in mind that LLMs are also generally very effective at connecting theory to concrete examples. To get your bearings on a new topic, use your LLM to discover practical examples related to your personal experience by asking for concrete application cases in contexts that interest you or that you are familiar with. Amalia, too, after the initial exchanges through which she begins to grasp the topic, starts asking her LLM, okay, but what is all this for? Why is Python useful for designers? Answers to questions like these help you connect theory to reality and perhaps even find a direct link to the context that truly interests you. This initial unstructured phase, the one where you give space to System 1, is extremely important. It is never a waste of time. However, to avoid getting lost in the sea of information, set a time limit for this exploratory phase. It could be a couple of hours or a couple of days, depending on the complexity of the topic, and the time you have available. But don't go beyond that, otherwise, you might start feeling overwhelmed by the amount of information and be almost tempted to give up. Amalia has completed this initial phase of free exploration and has started to better understand the context. However, she is beginning to feel the need to bring some order to it, seeking help in organizing her thoughts. For this purpose, she seeks help from a specialized tool, choosing an application dedicated to concept maps, from the available options and requests a map that summarizes what she has discovered so far about the connections between Python and design. As we have seen, Amalia is beginning to activate her system. System 2, the one responsible for slow and deliberate thinking. Now it's time for you to use it as well to clearly define your objectives. Even if you are not yet very familiar with the topic, there are practical strategies you can follow to set your initial goals and refine them. Then, as you progress, start by asking yourself, why do I want to learn this topic? Next, you can expand on the question. Do you simply want to explore a topic that piques your curiosity? Or do you want to master the content conceptually? Or on a practical level, what do you truly want to be able to do by the end of your journey? Your why will guide your decisions and actions and ultimately make your learning even more motivating and engaging. Doing all of this on your own with a completely new and unfamiliar topic can be particularly challenging. An effective strategy can be to seek help and guidance from your LLM, asking it to act as a tutor with the task of presenting you with important and thought-provoking questions one by one to frame your learning objectives. As you can see, the outcome of the dialogue was useful in summarizing the objective in general terms. And now Amalia knows what she wants. To learn how to use Python to automate workflows and improve and optimize repetitive tasks related to design, such as managing multimedia files. After clarifying the objectives, other questions may arise, such as, will I be able to do it with my current skills? Can I manage it with the time I have available? Even in this case, LLMs can indeed prove to be useful tools for turning the desired outcome into a specific, measurable, and achievable goal. Based on your skills, your specific objectives, and the time you have available. Returning to Amalia, the question she might ask at this point in the learning process is, considering that I have no computer science background and only 1 month, can you select the knowledge that I can realistically achieve in this time? As you can see, proceeding in this way allows for clarity on objectives as well as an overall plan. I know that at this point you might feel like you've used your system too, maybe even too much. Perhaps you've never planned anything with such accuracy. But trust me, it's worth it. Make one last effort to stay on track, because otherwise you might waste all the hard work you've done so far. Identify the key criterion by which you will measure how far you are from your goal. A question that might inspire you is, suggest a specific exercise I can do to determine whether I have reached my goal or not. At this point, you should have defined clear, specific, achievable, and measurable objectives for your journey. It's time to lift your head from the screen, reactivate your System 1, and compare your working hypothesis with the world around you. You can ask for feedback on your work plan from subject matter instructors or a course mate. You can also compare your plan with the table of contents of a reference manual or the structure of an online course, and then perhaps go back to discussing with your LLM the reasons why you excluded certain topics. Remember, you are always at the center of the process, and you are responsible for making the choices you find most appropriate. Your study plan will be special because it will be uniquely yours, tailored as much as possible to your goals and resources. Finally, keep in mind that the goals you have set provide direction, but they are not a cage. They do not have to be followed to the letter. It is natural that as you progress, your goals become clearer, or they may change, or your System 1 might take over again. Some of the most memorable and unexpected experiences come from unplanned and sometimes surprising detours. The important thing is to maintain the general direction and keep moving forward. After all, every step you take enriches your knowledge, even if the final destination shifts slightly and unexpectedly along the way.